Greetings, and thank you for having us here today. We are honored to be here and have the opportunity to share our experiences and knowledge with you all. Today, we'll be discussing environmental scanning, its benefits, challenges, and how it has helped us to view our organization, both in its current state and as we move towards the future. There are several definitions of environmental scanning, but what it boils down to is a process consisting of identifying, collecting, processing, and translating information about external influences in order to aid in decision-making and planning. The definition of environmental scanning we are using for this presentation, and the one that guided our research, is a systematic process of identification, collection, evaluation, and utilization of environmental information by organizations in order to assist them in the decision-making process. With this definition of environmental scanning, we can break the entire process down into 6 distinct steps. The first step is performing a scanning and need identification. It is important to first establish what the information needs of the organization are. The second step is acquiring information. Information must be collected on the organization's needs before it can be analyzed. From here, the third step is organizing and storing that information. The information can either be stored for future use or it can be processed, which will bring us to the fourth step, which is processing and synthesizing the information. Here, the information can be filtered to remove irrelevant parts, merged together with other information, or integrated with personal interpretations. With this complete, the information can be distributed to end users, which is the fifth step. The sixth and final step is evaluating and using the information. Once all information has been distributed, it can be evaluated and used to make decisions by those end users. Here you can see a visual model of the environmental scanning process. Please note that this diagram shows that once the information has been evaluated and utilized by end users, the process can cycle back to acquiring more information. This is a cyclical process, usually in the event that the information gathered was unsuitable or insufficient for its intended purposes. There are 3 different modes of environmental scanning. What this means is that there are 3 different ways to go about performing the environmental scan. The first is known as ad hoc scanning. This is environmental scanning that's performed in response to an emergency, crisis, or other situational event. It is a reactive process, as is usually unplanned prior to the event it is intended to respond to. Then there is regular scanning, which is environmental scanning scheduled at regular intervals. These intervals could be annually, biannually, etc., but it all depends on the organization's needs. It is called a regular scanning because it is a planned and scheduled occurrence. Finally, there is continuous scanning. As the name implies, this is environmental scanning that occurs continually. This is a proactive position in environmental scanning. It allows for the organization to acknowledge external changes much more quickly than the other methods. Knowing what environmental scanning is and how it can be performed, why is environmental scanning important for understanding your community and its needs? The answer breaks down into 4 distinct factors. The environment is always changing, and scanning is needed to keep informed of change. Environmental scanning exposes possible threats and opportunities. Environmental scanning allows for the monitoring of competitors' activities and for the development of appropriate strategies to deal with competition. And environmental scanning provides information for the development and application of effective marketing strategies. We'll take a moment here to focus in on each of these factors and look at them in greater detail. Previously, we stated that scanning is needed to keep informed of change. That's because environmental scanning is a vital component of strategic management and used for surviving environmental uncertainties. If an organization can understand the external elements that influence it, then it is possible for it to develop effective responses. The scanning process helps an organization understand the elements at play in their environments they do not hold direct control over, letting the organization determine whether these elements are opportunities worth taking or problems to address. We also stated that scanning exposes possible threats and opportunities. This follows directly from the previous factor. Having the capability to detect what is happening in a given environment, understanding both opportunities and threats, can lead an organization to success and prosperity. The third factor, scanning allows for the development of appropriate strategies for competition. This includes gaining industry foresight, obtaining sustainable competitive advantages, and improving overall competitiveness and performance. All of these are measurable and can be seen as a return on the investment into environmental scanning. The results of scanning are not limited to simply the information gleaned, but once acted upon, can be seen in the organization's performance and potentially its profits. Thus, it follows that scanning allows for the development and application of effective marketing strategies, which is the fourth and final factor. The information gained from an environmental scan can be unbiased and impartial, and allow an organization to make better decisions based on the actual needs of its community. Understanding the community and the environment can allow an organization to adjust its practices to better serve the desired demographic, resulting in more effective marketing strategies. Ultimately, environmental scanning can lead to three major results: improved decision making, enhanced efficiency, and competitive advantages. These are all desirable for an organization seeking to improve its performance and understand where it stands within its own environment. When we performed our own environmental scan at Mendelssohn Library, we first sought out a model to base our scan on. One of the models we discovered is known as DAF's model. This model states that senior managers' perceived strategic uncertainty would determine the scanning frequency and mode. Although this model is the most widely adopted theoretical foundation of study on the relationship between uncertainty and environmental scanning, it does not account for the big picture when it comes to gathering information in an organization. We instead opted for a refined model outlined by Zhang, Majid, and Fu. The refined model they proposed in their 2010 article is based on a formal six-step environmental scanning process conducted to fulfill top management's needs for strategic decision-making. The 6 steps outlined in this refined model are the same 6 steps we discussed earlier. As a refresher, they are as follows. First, a scanning needs identification is performed. Then, information acquisition. This is followed by information processing and synthesizing. The fourth step is organizing and storing information. Next comes information distribution, and then lastly, information evaluation and use. In the refined model, throughout this process, both the senior manager and employees interact in each step to complete the scan. Cooperation is required on multiple levels and allows for more complete overall coverage when performing the scan. The advantages of using the refined model over the DAF model